Hey everybody, it's Chris, and wow, here we go. Bible study time, the Bible series, fellowship, whatever you like to call it. We're getting into the Word, and if you saw the previous videos, you know what the story is behind all this, the meaning and purpose of it, and I'm so excited about it. I'm a little nervous as well. There's a lot to go over, but I'm more so just overwhelmingly excited because it is all about getting people engaged into His Word on a daily basis, right? Which gets you engaged with Him, gets you directly connected with Him so that you can start to feel the transforming power of this on your life. It is so awesome. It's a great thing. And I think we can do this in such a way that it gets you engaged in this, and we can point out some really awesome things and just get you just in love with this word, and you just consume it with everything that you are, and then you live it, right? And then after you live it, the only thing left to do is just give it. Live it and give it, consume it, whatever it may be. I will say the first thing before we get into all this, before you read daily, hopefully, is pray. If you saw the introduction video to Genesis, that's how the video ended. My daughter helped me out with that, Scarlett. She did awesome, but she talked about that at the end. She said, pray that God would open up your mind and open up your heart, just really getting you prepared to receive His Word, what He has, everything that He has in store for you in here. If you do that, and if you simply pray that God would meet you, that His Spirit would meet you in His Word, without a shadow of a doubt, He will. Every single time I pray that, He meets me in His Word, and it's that direct communication with Him. And it's like, man, it's unlike anything that I have ever experienced. And I've had this book in my life for my entire life. And what's going on now is unlike anything that I can really describe. It's just amazing. So I want that for you. So pray before you begin that takes place, and it will. Trust me, it's awesome. So if you haven't guessed yet, we're going to begin with the beginning, the beginning of the Bible as it is in Genesis, the beginning, the origin of everything. The reason why a lot of people, they'll say, well, you should start kind of, in the New Testament, just start straight with the gospel. And well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think that sometimes there's things in there, the way that Jesus taught, what He talked about, what He preached about, and how He lived His life, that are quite honestly going to go over your head. And it's because 90 to 95% of everything that Jesus did while He was here walking on this earth, teaching and preaching and doing all the healing, 90 to 95% of it all points back to the Old Testament, right? So this is the foundation of everything. The Old Testament is the foundation of everything that leads up and points to Christ, and everything that He did while He was here on earth. It is fulfilling everything that was in the Old Testament, confirming everything and bringing everything to a new life, a new promise. It is such an amazing thing. And a lot of people will say that the Old Testament is a snooze fest and boring, and it's like, man, I don't know what you're reading, but dude, this is insane. This is crazy. Just how God has designed this, and you step back and you see how He is orchestrated so divinely and so perfectly. Again, everything leading up to that full experience of Christ. It is the most amazing thing. These stories in here are absolutely mind-blowing. And again, I haven't gotten it until like just this last year, and it's just like, man, what have I been missing for so long? Holy cow. So this is awesome. We're starting here in the beginning, and wow, it's going to be a great ride. Just hold on and watch out. So, little bit of a background, first of all, as we start to read into this, is that this was, you talk about, well, who wrote this? Who wrote the first few books of the Bible? Who wrote this Genesis? And yes, obviously, this was given by God. So God is the ultimate author. But this was an account given by God through Moses directly to him. You're going to see why as we move along through the next few books. Moses and God, they spent a lot of time together, which is awesome. God gave Moses a ton of information about a lot of different things, and it was all for the people of Israel, right? We'll get into this in Exodus and the next few books where God was starting to develop a people for himself that would represent himself. So God gave all of this account, this information to Moses so that he could give it to his people and see where everything began and how God, got them to this point and what it was all meant for, which was really, really awesome. So kind of think about that perspective, first of all, as you start to read this, that these aren't just words that Moses was like, well, I think this and that. No, Moses was literally sitting there with a tablet or a stone or whatever it may have been. I don't know. And literally sitting there like a little kid listening to God and saying, God said, oh my gosh, in the beginning, I created the heavens and the earth, Moses, period. And Moses is like, what? All right. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, period. And I love it. It's written just so matter of fact, right? So with such authority and just this statement like perspective. So think about that as you read it and imagine Moses sitting there and having to soak all this in and like, oh my gosh, I would have been asking so many different questions. But thankfully, he got all of this out. And it's just awesome. Again, look at verse 1, just that very first statement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Period. That's such a statement of authority, of power. I love the fact that it says he created. He created. God has this creative nature. He has a creative spirit about him. And I think it leads to kind of the next question as you read through everything that God did create. Is why. The baseline question is, why did he create us? Why are we here? And it's a very simple answer. Love, right? Love. I love what this study Bible says. And it says God did not need to create the universe. He chose to create it. Why? Because God is love, and love is best expressed towards something or someone else. And so God created the world and people as an expression of his love. And whew, man, that's amazing. And so we start to see kind of the days of creation, right? There were 7 days that, actually 6 days that God took to create the earth and everything on it. And then on the 7th day, he rested. We'll get to that in chapter 2. But day 1, God created the light, right? Day 2, the sky and water. Day 3, he creates the land, sea, and vegetation. And day 4 creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day 5, the fish and the birds. And then day 6 creates all of the other animals, the land animals, and then obviously man and woman. And then day 7 he rests. So one thing that I think that I personally would want to make sure that as you read this, please don't make it just a routine to where you read through this and then you just do you check a box at the end of the day saying, well, I read my Bible. Make it more of a point of actually experiencing this. Take a moment, take time to actually go and experience his creation. It's not like we have to go time travel, thousands of years ago, which this was written about 1400 years before Christ. We don't have to go all the way back to experience his creation. It's all still here, right? The oceans, the land, the river, the animals, right? We can go out and look at the sun, maybe not directly, but we can we can experience it. We can feel its warmth, right? And notice how it creates shadows and sunrises and sunsets. Just get out and experience his creation. Go look at it. Just take some time to be aware and soak in what he has created. He made all this especially for us. And that is such an amazing thing. My mom won't like this, but every morning I get up and drive to work and it says the sun is coming up. And I can't tell you how many accidents I've almost gotten into by just like being caught up in the sunrise because it is so beautiful and it's different every single time. But don't do that. Don't get caught, driving and trying to look at stuff. But do make it a point to go out and experience everything that you're reading in here, right? Do that. It's a really cool thing. Again, it puts things in such a new, fresh perspective. Especially you start looking at animals and everything, how they're made, looking at yourself, human beings and kids, little babies and old adults, and how we're made, just how special we're made. Our galaxy, go Google the galaxy and look at some of the images on there, and just how incredibly amazing everything has been created by him. It is spectacular. So please do that. Next thing I want to kind of point out is this, and this is I think pretty awesome, is that as you're reading through the creation, notice how everything that God creates, he says, let there be, right? Let lights appear in the sky, the sun, moon, and the stars. Let the water swarm. Let the earth produce. Everything that he was saying, let there be, and it happens, right? God was willing these things and using his word, big key there, to create everything. We'll get back to that in just a second. Notice that I'll go back to the very first few verses. I wanted to point this out, is again, notice the care that was taken in creating everything. It says in at the end of verse 2, it says, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Just close your eyes and picture this. The Spirit of God hovering over the earth's surface is similar to a mother bird caring for and protecting its young, right? God is creating the whole universe and the earth and us on it, and his Spirit goes out across everything, hovering over it all like a mother bird caring for its young. That is such a cool picture, and it just goes to show the great care in which we were made, and how much love that we were made with. Man, that is awesome. And that continues, right? It continues when things kind of change up on day 6, when it's in chapter 1 verse 26. Then God said, let us make human beings in our image, to be like us. This verse is loaded. All right, we'll go through a few things here step by step. One is about our value and our worth. You see so much today where kids, adults, boys, girls, whoever it may be, we're struggling so much with our self-worth, with our image, how we see ourselves, our insecurity, and just not being happy with the way that we are. A lot of that has to do with everything that's going on around us in the world. I get that, but this again sets the table with the care, the beauty, the perfect design, and everything, and how we were made. God just kind of contemplates here, and he says, let us make man, let us make human beings in our image, right? So what does that mean when we talk about the value and our worth? What does it mean? We're made in God's image. Lord, what can that possibly mean? And that means that we were made with the ability to reflect God's character, his very nature, the core of him, the heart of him. Like his creation was, done by the source of his love for us. right? We're created in that same image with all of that likeness, all of that good that's inside of him. His character, love, kindness, patience, grace, forgiveness, faithfulness, this wisdom, right? And everything. So feel that. Feel how much worth you have, right? That God would care to make us in his image. He didn't make us, all of the animals, they weren't made in his image. All of the animals were made a certain way, everything else was made a certain way. But when it came to us, he wanted to make us in his image, to have all the same abilities within our character, right? To be able to possess and enjoy. And man, so if you're ever dealing with any self-doubt or self-worth, insecurity issues, go to this right here in the beginning, right? And this is an awesome thing. And you'll start to see more and more as we continue into chapter 2 just how much he cared for creating you in such a special way. So that's one of the cool things. But has anyone noticed, and this took me a long time to notice, I don't know why this isn't preached more often, I have no idea, but you notice how everything else was let there be light, let there be space, let lights appear, let waters form. And then it says, let us make man in our image. Who is us and what is our image? And then it says to be like us. Who is God talking to? What is going on here? That's crazy, right? And yeah, we're going to answer that right here. It's going to be one of the times that we go to the New Testament, because I definitely want to point this out, because this shapes everything in such a mind-blowing way. It's quite, yeah, it's just amazing. So first we're going to go to Colossians, and we're going to, in the first chapter, verse 15. Check this out. This is talking about, just to set this up in the context, the incomparable Christ. So this is talking about Jesus Christ. Watch this. Verse 15. He is the image. Christ is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. Pay attention, highlight that. The firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. Whoa, okay, one more for you. Book of John, the Gospel of John. Right out the gate, John hits it hard. Again, he's talking about the deity of Jesus Christ. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, through Jesus Christ, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. Right? In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Folks, let that simmer for a little bit. That is a absolute glorious bombshell right out of the gate. The person that came out of heaven from his throne onto earth to save your life by dying on a cross for you is the same person that was with God. The Word was with God. Jesus Christ is the Word who was with God in the very beginning, creating you and me and everything that you see. Right? Let that sink in. And again, that sets the tone for the entire Bible, the rest of the Bible. Whoo! Wow. That's awesome. Right? So, this is the beginning. of this whole Bible series. I hope you're kind of getting some things right off the bat here. I wanted to kind of leave you with that nugget, that piece of treasure, first and foremost. As you read through chapter 1, just, oh my gosh, let that sink into your spirit as you're reading through. That changes the whole game. That puts things in such a perspective. And I think if you let some of those other things, change your perspective a little bit as you read this, wow, it just brings it into a whole new light, into a whole new experience. Get out, check it out, experience that. Wow, awesome. I love it. Stay tuned for next video, chapter 2. There's a lot in Genesis, so some of these we're going to be taking a lot of time with. Some you'll get to just kind of read through on your own pace, but I'm loving it. The word is great. Enjoy it. See you soon.